Hey, this is Dan Seifert from MobileBurn.com, and right now what I'm looking at is the HP TouchPad. HP TouchPad is the first tablet release to be running WebOS, which HP acquired when it purchased Palm just about a year ago. Now this tablet is a 9.7-inch display, as you can see here. It features a 1024 by 768 IPS display, which has very good viewing angles. As you can see, it's very glossy like most tablets, but still has exceptionally wide viewing angles. Now, if you notice something, this looks very familiar, is because it's the exact same display that we see on the iPad 1 and the iPad 2. Virtually the same size, same resolution, same IPS features, same kind of color gamut, and everything is the same. Other things that you'll notice are very similar to the iPad is the bezel here is almost identical, surrounding the whole screen here. There's a button down here which you can press to open up the launcher or push apps back to the desktop, which we'll take a look at later, but that's almost exactly like the home button on the iPad. Up top, you've got a camera here. It's a 1.3 megapixel camera. And that's about it as far as the front goes. There's no gesture area like we're used to with other older WebOS devices. They had got rid of that with the WebOS 3.0 that's running on this. Looking at it from a profile, you can see the touchpad has got these rounded edges. It's a bit thicker than you might expect. And it's about as thick as the old iPad. In fact, it's even a little bit thicker than the old iPad at 13.7 millimeters. So when you compare this with the iPad 2 at 8.8 millimeters, it's significantly thicker. Along the edges, you've got a couple different things here. We're looking at the bottom edge here. If you're holding it in landscape mode, it's got stereo speakers, which you can kind of see there. Now we go. These are Stereo Beats speakers, which HP owns the branding to. On the other side, you've got a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, a microphone, and then a power switch or unlock switch there. On top, you've got a volume rocker switch, and then a dummy SIM card slot. There's nothing in there, and we can't really get to it right now, but that'll be used in the future when there's 3G versions, as this one is only a Wi-Fi model. Then looking at the bottom, you can see there's not much else, but you can just barely see there's a micro USB port there. The back of the touchpad is this glossy plastic, which is almost like as if you took a iPad 3G or 3GS and blew it up to a 10-inch size. It's the same type of glossy plastic, and as you can see, it is very prone to fingerprints. I had just wiped this off before we started recording the video, and you can see it is loaded with fingerprints already, and that's just from me flipping the thing over a few times. So if you are particularly annoyed by fingerprints, or they get in your way, or they bother you, like me, I can't stand them, touchpad's not going to be your friend on that front. It definitely has a lot of fingerprint issues. Doing a quick comparison here, I've got the original iPad here, and you can see side by side how similar they look. It's almost as if the touchpad was based frame by frame off of the iPad from last year's design. And you can see if we stack them together, the iPad is it's slightly thinner, but it's really hard to notice here. The iPad 2 is certainly noticeably thinner with its thinner profile there. But the big thing that you can notice that's different is the build quality. Because the iPad uses these metal materials versus the plastic, it certainly feels much more of a higher quality build than the touchpad. The other thing the touchpad is it's very heavy, about 1.6 pounds or 740 grams. Compare that with last year's iPad here, which is about 680 grams, or the iPad 2, which is 601 grams, which is 1.3 pounds. It's a significant difference in weight when you're holding it. It almost feels like this thing is weighted down with lead weights inside of it. Another cool hardware function of the touchpad is the Touchstone dock here. Now, WebOS devices have used Touchstone type docks for a long time, ever since they were originally released in 2009, and they had these little hockey puck things that you could charge your phone on. This is the exact same thing except for the touchpad, so it's big enough to dock the touchpad on, like so. It makes a magnetic connection, so you can feel it kind of connect there, and then if this were to be plugged into the wall, it would start charging it immediately. You can adjust the angle of this however you like, so you can play with the angles of play there and really get the right angle so you can type on it and work on it and stuff like that. But if you just want to leave it on your desk, it does like a nice little picture frame stand, and if this were to be plugged in and charging, this would switch into what they call exhibition mode and show you a clock or another app if you desire. Now, as we know, this runs WebOS 3.0, which is the first WebOS version designed specifically for tablets. It's got a little bit different UI using mechanisms and user interface details than the phone WebOS does. On the phone, you've got a gesture pad or strip, which would be right about here, or if you were holding the touchpad vertically, it'd be right about here. But it doesn't have that on the tablet. I guess the engineers just felt that the larger size of the tablet didn't really warrant the gesture strip area. Certain gestures do still exist, so you can swipe up from the bottom and open up your launcher, and you can have your launcher pages here, which are a little bit different than the ones on the phone. You've got apps, downloads, favorites, and settings. Now, with this launcher, you can't change any of these as of yet. Right now, everything is fixed in place, and you can't change what the names of the pages are and new pages or anything like that just yet. Very similar to WebOS 2.0 or higher, you've got your Just Type function up here, so you can tap in there and just start typing a search or an action depending on the application. Over here on the upper right hand corner, you've got your settings menu, which is very cool. Allows you to quickly and easily see your time, or excuse me, your date and time, your battery life. You can adjust the brightness of the display quickly and easily right there. You've got your Wi-Fi information, Bluetooth settings. You can lock your rotation and mute the sound from there. As you notice in the toe of the hardware, there's no switch like the iPad where you can set it to lock the rotation or the mute. So they do that in this little drop-down menu here. This menu is actually accessible in no matter what application you're in, so you don't have to be at the launcher screen to do that, but it is there. You do have some shortcuts here at the bottom. It's pre-populated with some of the major ones. You've got your browser, email, calendar, messaging application, and your photos application. These are customizable, though. You can move applications in and out of there if you want some different ones there. If we tap the arrow, we'll bring back up our launcher, and we can see the application tray. You've got your main apps that come pre-installed on the touchpad, and then if you swipe over, you've got all the ones that you might have downloaded. So we've added a few different apps here from the catalog that we're taking a look at. You also have a panel here that you can add favorite apps to, so once you have a bunch of apps on here, you can add your favorite, most recently accessed ones there. And then over here you've got your settings applications, so you can access the different accounts that you have tied to your touchpad, the information of the device itself, turn your location services on and off, software updates, control the audio, things like that. Now in the launcher itself is pretty fast. As you can see, it's pretty snappy moving things around. But in my use of the device, I found that it does tend to lag from time to time. One of the beauties of WebOS is that you can have a bunch of different applications going at once. So let's just open up a bunch here. And then you can switch between them quickly and easily while you're working. Like so. Taking a look at the browser itself, it's got a very capable browser. It features full flash compatibility. And you can see the on-screen keyboard here, which is pretty cool. Very similar in layout to the iPad, but as you can see, we've got this extra row at the top for numbers, so you don't have to hit an alternate key to access the numbers. In place of the alternate key, you've got a tab button, which is kind of rare to see on virtual keyboards, but it's definitely different. Over here, you can shrink the keyboard and hide it, but if you tap and hold on it, you've got options to change the size of the keyboard. So you can go from all the way from a small, compressed size to larger sizes depending on your preference, and depending on how easy it is for you to type on the screen. I found that the keyboard is pretty responsive in my use. However, it does not have as good autocorrect as some others might have. Certain words like don't and won't automatically put the apostrophe in, and that can be kind of frustrating when you're typing. So here we can see the browser here loaded up the mobile version of our page by default, but if we go to the full website, you can see it's fairly fast as it loads up. We're connected to a pretty solid Wi-Fi connection here. And you can see it's loaded up the Flash ads already. And it's got an embedded Flash module there that loaded as well. So we can pan and scroll pretty quickly and easily. If you double tap, you can zoom in. and it will format the text for you. You can of course pinch to zoom as well. Playing the embedded flash module there. You can go full screen with that. Most of the time Flash videos do work pretty well, but in my experience I did have a few times where it did crash out on me, and I had to exit the website.
And right now we're just going to take a quick look at the new version of Google Maps for Android that was released today.
So there you go. And if we swipe up or hit the home button, it will take us back to the website. Now you can have multiple tabs open. If you hit that little button up there, we'll open up another card, as they call it, with another website. And you can see, there you go. And to switch between them, you swipe up. You can select the other original website, or select your new website. And then if you wanted to, you can swipe up and close that. Taking a look at the email application, the email has been totally redesigned for tablet use, which is very good to see. The email application on WebOS phones has been about the same since they came out in 2009, and it seems to be missing a lot of the features. But the tablet application is very good. What you can see here is the sliding panes interface that you'll see throughout the WebOS tablet 3.0, and what you can do is you can grab these handles and select how much of a message or a list that you want to see, like so. And then if you tap a message, you can see you've got your message there, and if I wanted to see more of it, I can drag the handle all the way over, and then it snaps into place. And you can zoom in, like so. Now right now we've got a couple different inboxes attached to our email account, and we can view all of the inboxes at once in the all inbox view, or we can selectively choose which ones we wanted to see. And here we've got a sample of formatted text that is supported on the TouchPad's email client. Overall, the email client is good, it's fast, and it works fairly well, but it's still lacking certain things. It does not support conversation view, which can be kind of maddening. That is something that you kind of come to expect from most email clients nowadays. But unfortunately, this doesn't have it. So hopefully HP will add that in a future update. Over here is called your notification area, and if we've gotten a new email or a new text message or any type of notification, it's going to pop up in the corner up there, and you can actually see that and selectively go through all the emails or messages that you have. It's a little bit different than the way it works on a phone, where it pops up from the bottom, and then you can review them one by one. So it's a little more intuitive on the tablet, works a little bit better for the tablet design.